rifle. Let it rip. Early tonight, I had a chance to talk to Democratic State Senator Adam Hollier and his friend, Republican Tom Barrett, about the unique bond they have formed just days after Barrett tested positive for COVID-19.
So that was a bit of a surprise to me. I haven't really had symptoms to indicate that I had anything COVID related, but certainly had set in place a bunch of notifications of others then, and, kind of definitely a disruption to my life and the things that I've been doing.
So you're feeling okay, no cough, no fever, but you've got young kids. I mean, how have you managed to explain that to them? Are they okay? Everybody okay in the family?
Yeah. And thankfully, everybody in the family's fine. Nobody has any symptoms to speak of. No one's really fallen ill from anything. My kids, probably like most kids, are generally aware that the coronavirus is out there, and it's something that has consumed the news and just day-to-day life and conversations. And they've seen people with masks on out in public, and it's been an impact to them. But my wife and I have tried our best to keep it as keep them as insulated as possible, because they're at an age where it's not something that they're going to really be able to understand in the full context that, you or I or other adults would. Where do you think you contracted the virus? Where do you think you got it? Well, that's a good question, right? It's something that's invisible. We can't see it. So if we could see it, we would be able to avoid it. But the fact that, somewhere along the way, it appears that I contracted it, I'm thankful that I don't have any complications from it. And I think my case is not really atypical. A lot of people in my demographic of, being a little bit younger, I'm less than 40. I don't have, underlying health complications, really don't have much in the way of significant complications from this. And I'm thankful for that. And I think my test, coming back positive shows that we have to have a way of coexisting with this virus. We're not going to put it back in the bottle. As a precaution, several Senate sessions in Lansing were canceled this week, but you and your colleague, Adam Hollier, were in Detroit recently during Pershing High School and several charities. Adam, have you been tested?
Oh, yeah. I got tested on Monday, and thank God, tested negative. Like Tom, my wife is pregnant, and I have a little munchkin who's at home because of my positive, or because of Tom's positive test and my exposure. They were like, all right, she needs to come home. And so there are lots of things that we talk about when we talk about this. But this was not the first time that I got a notification about someone testing positive. It was, at this point, the first time that someone tested positive who was asymptomatic. But we know that asymptomatic spread is happening, which is why we always, wear masks. So like I was wearing a mask, Tom's wearing a mask, and everybody that we interacted with when we were in Detroit was wearing a mask, because we know that any moment, any of us could be carrying or spreading these things. And so the types of changes and the policies that we put in place have been seek to make sure that everybody is safe, whether we know what's going on or not.
I think the best thing to come out of this is the relationship that you two have formed to get things done. So had you been flirting for some time? Who made the first move?
We had a Senate orientation, and Tom and I are in kind of a unique situation in that I think at this point we are the only bipartisan group of individuals still actively serving in the reserve component of the military. So we're both in the Army. Tom's in the National Guard and the Army Reserve. And so it gave us just one shared experience, one shared piece of things in common, and it got us started to talking. And so, Tom picked an office next to mine, and so we interact together. He chairs a number of the committees that I'm on. And so we spend a lot of time interacting and working. And so that was really why we started, did this district exchange, because Tom helped me get some of these organizations funded, whether that was Flip the Script or some funding over at Pershing High School. And so it's really important as we look through what's going to be a very difficult budget cycle to be able to show people who do not see what it's like to live in your community, what the impact of these state dollars means. And so I was able to go do the same out in Charlotte. And honestly, it's the first time I'd ever been in, I think, most of the counties we had been in. I think I'd only been in Eaton County. I don't think I'd ever been in any of those other counties. And that makes a big difference, right? And so we often talk about the perspective that is different when you are a Black guy from Detroit, but when you are a white guy from Charlotte, I mean, it's similarly different. And having both of those experiences, I think, is really important as we make policy, not just for the communities that we live in and represent, but for every member of the state.
And Adam and I share our differences. It's not a secret. We're in opposite parties. This is a contentious time. And, we spent a lot of time in each other's district, traveling between points, and we were in the car together, and we'd talk, kind of candidly and open up. Why is it that you guys see this way, and why do Democrats view this issue this way? And he would ask me, why is it that Republicans feel this way about one of these other things? And it was a good, just a good human interest experience, if nothing else. And as lawmakers, we can hopefully apply that to the relationship building that is necessary to craft that good public policy.
Before we go, I want to hear from both of you about your relationship and what it should mean to your colleagues as we move forward. Adam.
Yeah, so our relationship has been great. Obviously, we don't agree on everything, but I was able to get significant funding for Pershing High School, school in my district that needs it, for Flip the Script, for Focus Hope. These things happen because Tom and I have a relationship that's built on trust, not on agreement, but built on trust, that when I tell him something is true, it is true, that I stand up for my word, and that when I talk about a need, it's real, and that programs are going to work. And so even though Tom tested positive and he was exposed and was around these individuals, the people who I brought Tom to said, thank you for bringing him down here. He needed to see this work. This was really important. We are grateful. We haven't had this type of opportunity. And that means a lot. This year, I think for many people, this was the first time they thought about Juneteenth. And I was talking to Tom about that, and he agreed to talk about Juneteenth on the Senate floor. And that was the first time a Republican or a white person was ever talking about Juneteenth, particularly in the Senate. And that meant a lot, right? So our relationship has been able to build, and we've been able to move forward on a lot of things, because everybody wants to talk about the few things that we disagree on. And Tom and I have chosen to work on the things that we can agree on. And there are a lot of them around students, around people who are returning from prison, around getting seniors fed. Like, those are the kind of things that we did, talking about supported housing. That's the work that we were able to get done together. And if more of our colleagues were doing this type of thing, the state would be in a better situation than it is. I think also shared military service really makes a big difference, because we have an experience that we both know is real, and we know that it's important for us to work together, because at any moment we can be called to do so.
Tom?
Yeah, absolutely. I had a fantastic time in Adam's district. Really enjoyed meeting with the folks that that we traveled around his district to meet. In fact, just prior to leaving, I asked him if he could take me over to a house that my great grandparents used to live in. That's in Adam's district. We went and visited that briefly, which was just kind of a neat opportunity for me to have. But really, like Adam pointed out, there's a lot that every lawmaker in Lansing agrees on. A vast majority of bills that we pass in a given year pass with almost unanimous support or are overwhelmingly bipartisan. And probably, I would guess, 3/4 or 80% of the votes that we take have some level of bipartisan support or even, a large capture of the members of the legislature. There's only about 15% of what we do that ends up being really the most contentious. And that's what everybody focuses on. And certainly those are important issues. I'm not discounting them, because they are, each and every issue we take up is important. But there is so much that we can work in a collaborative way on. Adam and I are very different. Our philosophy is different. Our backgrounds are different, and our political ideologies are very different. But there are a lot of things that we can agree on, and at the very least agree to try and work on together. Even if we don't get to the outcome of agreement, we can at least have candid conversations with each other about where the problem exists and what we can try and do to solve it. And I appreciate that, and I appreciate his candor and willingness to engage with me on that.
Well, Senators Tom Barrett and Adam Hollier, we thank you for your military service, and we thank you for your service for the public, for the people of Michigan. I think that you provide a great example for all of us. Thank you. All right, stay with us. More Let It Rip to come.
Thank you for having us.
You're quite welcome. Thanks.